first thing I would like to say about this subject matter is that it's a very delicate one, and one that has to be treated in a very, very serious manner. In order for one to be able to speak on the subject, you have to know it. And in order to know the subject, you have to live it. And unless you live through this experience of finding a mate, and then getting married, and then continuing in married life for a number of years, where you bring children and grandchildren into the world, unless you have that, you are not really prepared to get up and speak before an audience. Because there are many, many facets in life that you can just maybe speak as something which is abstract, but it means nothing. What is important is those things that are based on the facts of life, what life itself brings, and how you make the best of those years that God sent you down on this earth. In addition to going through the experience of life itself, there is another very wonderful thing to have, and that is the experience with dealing with the problem, which fortunately I have. I've been dealing on matters of marital problems for about 44 years, and in the course of time, no matter how dumb someone is, but you learn from the experience, from the problems that come to you, and from the way sometimes you make a mistake and give the wrong advice, so you know how to correct it for the next time. But it gives you a certain amount of reliability and a certain amount of authenticity in being able to get up and perhaps advise others what to do. You know, they tell the story in the old country. A fellow once came home to his father and he says, Pa, I want you to know that I'm going to get married. So the father says to him, what do you mean you're going to get married? He says, yeah, I'm going to get married. She says, hey, my son, but you're yet so young. Why are you so young? Why should you want to get married already? He says, Pa, why did you get married so young? So he says to him, every foolish thing that I did in life you have to copy? We have to understand and realize that there comes a time in a person's life when he wants to get married. He wants to get married. You don't check this off on a calendar. Chazal, our rabbis, were very smart. They gave us a number. A man, when he reaches 18 years, he is ready for marriage. And they understood life. They understood the human character. They understood the workings of the human mind. They understood the weaknesses of the human body and the lusts and temptations that a person may have in life. And they understood and realized that there comes a certain point of maturity in a person's life when he's ready to make the next step from being single to becoming married. Now, Shidduchim, as I've heard the previous three speakers speak, all refer to a shadchan. Now, for the sake of you fellows who don't know what a shadchan means, so they'll tell you it means a matchmaker. But there is an acrostic for the word shadchan. The shin, the daled, and the chaf, and the nun. And the shin stands for sheker, the daled stands for dover, the chaf stands for kesef, and the nun stands for no-tail. Which means, as plain and simple, he tells you a bunch of lies and takes your money. That's his business. I know a lot of fellas who, when they speak about the shadchan, they say that they were hoping they could name their first baby after him. Now, Chazal tell us that when you have to get married, is nachez darga unasei vitza. Go down a step and marry a woman. Why do you have to go down a step? Because our rabbis understood that which an individual imagines or visualizes in his life as the kind of a woman he wants to get to be his wife, is something that may be difficult to achieve. First of all, maybe people aren't made like that. Second of all, even if they're made, maybe somebody better than him got her already. Third of all, if he will step down a step, which means he stands a step higher, it means that she is looking up to him. Because if she is one step lower and he is higher, if he's to go down a step, then they go up a step, which means that he's standing up there and she's down there, so he should go down to her. But while he's up there, she's looking up to him, isn't it? It's an automatic thing. So which means that you should find the kind of a woman who's going to look up to you, who's going to understand and realize that you represent in your person that which she could be proud of, that which she could feel is an honor, to be able to walk by your side and say to the world, this is my husband, and she will be the one who will always be able to do that in life which will uplift you in the eyes of people, and she will be able to give you that strength and that stamina that you need in order to be successful in whatever you're going to be doing. If it's the other way around, if it's the woman who feels that she is superior to the man, then you're going to have a pretty tough job on your hands. Now, I want to tell you, I am not the male chauvinist, and I don't think, and I'm not trying to sell you an idea here, that the man is superior to the woman. I'm not telling you that. I'm just telling you, in order for a union to come, in order for two people to get together of opposite sex, in order for two people who have opposite roles to fulfill in life, to be able to put together this kind of a combination, which will be a successful one, for that it's pertinent, it's important that we have the kind of a relationship where there will be always an appreciation for each other. And it's easier for the wife to appreciate the man. For some reason or other, that's the way it's done. And where you find the movement of the feminists, what is the whole concept? What is the whole concept of equal rights? They're suffering from an inferiority complex. They want to stand on the bridge and handle the steel beams, those Michigan. So what they actually are trying to tell you is that I'm not the tender, soft, sweet little lady, but I'm muscles. I can do whatever my husband does. I can get up there on top of that bridge, and I can put the beams together, and I can use the fire, and I can use everything else, and my hands can be as rough as sandpaper, and it doesn't mean anything. I don't have to have that fair tenderness that a woman usually has and is known by. The Gemara tells us, in Eretz Yisrael, there used to be a quote, Motza oy moitza. They asked the fella, what, he got a wife? Which was it? Motza, did he find her? Oy moitza. Or was she found for him? Was it found for him, or did he find her? What is the difference? So the Pasuk says in Kehelis, Motzi isha motza toif. He found a woman, he found someone that is good. Then it says, Motza ani, I have found bitterer than death is the woman. So where is the combination here? Here he says, Motzi isha motza toif. He found a woman, he found something that is very good. Here he says on the other side, Motza ani mama motza isha. I found a woman that's bitterer than death. Why is it bitterer than death? Death ends, and a bitter woman never ends. It's a constant death. She keeps torturing you for the rest of her life. They tell the story that there was a lady once who was a miserable witch. She tortured her husband. She made his life miserable. This poor guy, every day was a Gehenna for him. One day, he takes her look and sees that she became very sweet, very good. Can't understand this. What is it all of a sudden? So he asks her, what happened all of a sudden? That episode, you turned around, you became a different lady than you were. He says, I'll tell you, I went to shul last Shabbos, and I heard the rabbi's drosha. So the rabbi said in his drosha that if a man has a rotten woman, he's going to get Gan Eden. So So I should give you Gan Eden. So I'll be good to you. You should get Gehenna. Motzai Meitze. What is the concept? The question is, how did the fellow find the girl? If it's Meitzani, if I myself found the girl, I went into one of the dance floors in a disco, and I picked her up, and I decided to marry her. My mother says, Isha, brother, boy, you don't know what you're getting yourself into. Motza Isha, if someone else recommended the lady to him, if someone, a friend, someone who was concerned about his welfare, if he recommended the woman to him, is Motza Isha Motza Teif. If he found it, in other words, if somebody else found it, Motza Teif, then he can find someone that is good. Why is that? It's very simple. If it's a friend who recommends the woman to you, we take it for granted that this friend is not going to do anything to harm you, to hurt you. He's interested in your welfare. He's interested in making you happy. He's interested in seeing to it that you have fulfillment in your life. When you find the individual yourself and you don't know anything about her, and you just picked her up somehow because she made herself available to you, then you should know, you know what you're getting yourself into. It may look as sweet as sugar, and it could be as bitter as a serpent. This you find out later. It starts out very nice, and then, boy, you get the works. Then, really, when it comes to light, it's a whole different situation. Now, you got to understand that many of the questions came up here. When should a person get married? Then your previous speaker spoke about this thing. I am one who believes in early marriages. I believe in early marriages. The reason, it's very simple. When you're young and you get involved and you take upon yourself a responsibility and you start out in life and you know that you're taking an obligation upon yourself, then you understand that this ties you down. You have to remember another thing. We're living in the world of today with all the promiscuity, with all the immorality, with all the permissiveness, with everything in the media that tends to tear a person's Yetzer Hara apart, that tends to turn the Yetzer Hara on fire. When you see and hear the things that you do, and it's inevitable. You go into the subway, it's all over the place. You open up a newspaper, it's all over the place. You open a magazine, even the clean magazines, you'll find the kind of pictures that are absolutely lewd. And to them, it's artistic, mastistic, Dodwali puts it up, paskudna picture over there. That's the first thing. You open up the New York Times, page 3. I watch this all the time. Page 3, the first page over, always has a half-nude woman. You watch it. In the name of one of the department stores. I mean, those of us who have to buy a New York Times, I'm not telling you to buy it because of that picture. But this is what it's all about. But if a person is settled, and he chooses a wife, and takes her to be his wife, and they get married, and God helps, the child comes, and another child comes, they're involved. They're tied up. They are busy. They have no time to think about anybody else. They have no time to look at anyone else. They have no time to get into any trouble because they have to make a living, and they have to be at the house, and they have to take care of the kids, and they have to plan for the future, and there are things that are constantly coming before them. And this is what it's all about. Now, there are those, my predecessors, I heard them speak, and they said that if you don't have parnasa, if you're not making a living, you shouldn't get married. Now, I got to tell you something. When I got married, I wasn't making a living. I wasn't making a living. And if everybody who gets married has to get married after he's making a living, the rabbis will go out of business. They'll have no Siddur Kedushin for a long time. We have to do what we have to do. Panose, the Rabbeinu Shalom gives. God gives panose. But then if you're a loafer, it's another story. If you're a guy who just decides to get married and don't have the understanding, and you have the responsibility, you have to take care of a wife properly and feed her properly and everything else, then forget about it. Then you're not interested in marriage. But if you're interested in marriage and you understand and realize what the responsibility of marriage is, then the earlier you get married, the healthier you are. Because the older you get, and you're getting this from the voice of experience, the more choosy you become. The girl becomes more choosy. And this becomes a rat race. The Yetzer Hara has a heyday with guys like that. Because every time he meets a girl, he thinks to himself, maybe I can get somebody better. Maybe it's not yet the one. Then he goes out with the next one. So the next one has something that the other one didn't have. So he thinks to himself again, this one, the other one had this one haven't. This one looks nice, this one doesn't look nice, this one had this one spoke one way, I got some ice over there. So the Yetzer Hara has you in a real bind. And he keeps swinging you around like Meshuggah, you see. And you keep going all the time. And you go from one to the other, one to the other, one to the other. And each time he makes it more enticing and more exciting and more this and more that. And you think you're getting someplace. And you're getting absolutely no place because you're running around in a circle. And when you finished up, you started with 3 years before. The only thing is, it cost you about $3,000 dates. That, yeah, because every girl you took out, you had to spend some money on it. You can't take out and be a schlump. I mean, you got to make an impression, right? You got to look nice. And if you hire a car, you got to take a Lincoln, or you got to take a Caddy, you got to take something that looks really hotsy-totsy. She shouldn't think you're some kind of schmagegi, or you're some kind of a schlepper over there. You got to really make it, you got to really make it good. So goes away the years. So a wife you don't have, right? Money you have less, and you have a headache that you're 3 years older and you haven't got a wife, and you're starting all over again the whole ball game. That's why when you're younger, it's easier for to settle. You're not that choosy yet. And it's easier for you to fall in love because you're young. While you're young, it's easier for you to get attached to somebody. As you get older, you think you became smarter. And when you think you became smarter, that's your downfall in a Shidduch. And that's the time you first make the wrong moves. And that's the time when you become 40, you realize that 20 years went by from 20 to 40 and nothing happened. Why didn't it happen? And it's nothing. That's not the point. The idea is you got to make a move. Now let me tell you something else. In life, you should know that when you marry a woman, you shouldn't think that tomorrow you're not going to see a nicer woman, a prettier woman, a richer woman, a more attractive woman. Don't get that in your head. This is a big world. You can be married 40, 50 years and still see a very pretty woman and become infatuated with her. So what does that mean? You're going to go home, right? And give your wife a get and go run after this lady. Yeah, Michigan, all right? Doesn't work like that. Doesn't work like that. A person who gets married al pi Torah and lives a life al pi Torah knows right away that this is his responsibility and this is his wife. It's interesting that in the Sheva Brachas that we say under the chuppah and throughout the week of Sheva Brachas, we use the terminology Kesamecha or Yitzircha beGan Eden mikedem. What is the Gan Eden creeping in mittendrin? Here we're standing, we're getting married. Now you're talking about Gan Eden? What is this? We're ready to check out already. We just started. How is this episode? But they're telling us one simple thing. In Gan Eden, there was no jealousy. There was no temptation to another woman because there wasn't another woman around. It was only Chava was there. Nobody else. So we wish Chos and Kala that when they're getting married, it could be just like in Gan Eden. This was the most beautiful, the most wonderful lady in the world. Her name was Chava. And the Magishan didn't look for anybody else. The same way when you're getting married now, you should know also that this lady that you're getting in your eyes should be the most gorgeous and the most wonderful and the most precious. And you shouldn't look for any other bangs. And don't look for any other candidates because you're leaking the herb. And it should be Gan Eden again like it was in Gan Eden. If you take that kind of an attitude, then you know that this is it. And since this is it, you make the best of life itself. And no matter what kind of temptation comes your way, no matter what kind of a desirable situation presents itself, and no matter how many would be happy to have you as your husband, forget about it. It's a lot of baloney. You have one thing to do in life. You found your mate. This is it. Now let me...